Abandoned after welcoming Triplet girls, she discovered an incredible love from a silent rancher. Emma stood at the counter of the cafe, her hands trembling as she poured fresh coffee into a mug. The familiar scent wrapped around her, but today felt heavier. Her three little girls, Anna, Bella, and Clara, filled their small table with laughter, unaware of the storm swirling in their mother's heart. Just a year ago, they had welcomed triplets into their lives, and without a word, their father had vanished, leaving behind a whirlwind of debt and despair. "You got this, Em," she whispered to herself, forcing a smile as the regulars chatted around her. Every day was a balancing act, balancing work at the cafe, juggling three energetic girls, and trying to make ends meet. The judgmental whispers of neighbors sometimes stung more than the long hours she worked. "Did you hear about Emma? 3 kids and no man around," they murmured. It cut deep, even when kind-hearted folks dropped off lasagna or offered to babysit. Through it all, Emma's fierce determination kept her grounded. She wanted her daughters to grow up believing in the American dream, thriving in a small town full of rodeo culture and resilient hearts. One summer evening, the town organized a barbecue fundraiser at the square. The scent of smoked brisket filled the air, making her stomach rumble in both hunger and anxiety. It was great that the town was gathering to help her, but the weight of their expectations felt like a ton of bricks. Was she enough for them? Just as her heart began to race, she saw Jack, a rugged rancher known for his stoic demeanor, standing off to the side, his piercing blue eyes locked onto her. Time seemed to stand still. Suddenly, laughter erupted from the girls, the sound pulling her back to reality. The magic moment shattered when a group started gossiping about her struggles. Emma's cheeks flushed. Just as she turned to escape, Jack stepped forward, his voice low but strong. "That's not fair." His defense ignited something within her, warmth and something indescribable. Was it hope? As the tension eased, Emma felt the magnetic pull between them deepen. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As dusk settled and fairy lights twinkled above, Emma found herself drifting towards Jack. He seemed like a boulder, solid and unyielding, yet she sensed the softness hidden beneath his tough exterior. They chatted about daily life, escaping their chaotic realities together, fleeting moments when laughter muffled the heaviness of judgment. But just as their hearts began to beat in sync, an old friend of Jack's emerged, shadows of the past creeping back into view. The crowd paused, murmurs rising like a storm. Emma felt her stomach twist with unease. She didn't want to believe the whispers, old wounds gnawing at her resolve. Could she let this stranger, with his hidden demons, into her family's life when her heart was already battle-weary? Would Jack vanish too, or could they forge something strong together? The air thickened with unspoken fears as two worlds collided. Emma stood at a crossroads, wondering if vulnerability could replace her walls of protection. And as Jack's past loomed larger, Emma felt whispers of trust fighting against the turbulent tide of heartache and judgment. Was she ready to love again? Emma's heart raced as she caught sight of Jack's old friend. The man approached with a swagger punctuated by laughter that masked an air of familiarity. "Hey, Jack. Long time no see," he declared, slapping Jack on the back. Emma felt her breath hitch, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. The warmth of connection they had just built flickered like the dying embers of the barbecue fire behind them. She forced a smile, trying to look unfazed, but the laughter from Jack's friend drowned out her thoughts. Clearing her throat, she squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, gathering strength. The last thing she needed was more drama in her life. "Oh, Emma." Jack returned his attention to her, that silent strength returning with a gentle smile. "I was just telling my buddy here about the amazing girls you're raising." His gaze was unwavering, filled with sincerity that made her heart swell despite the tense moment with his friend. "Mom's the best." Clara chimed in from her seat, her small voice cutting through the ambivalence. Jack laughed, and a spark ignited in Emma's chest. It was as if the storm clouds had parted, even if just slightly. You can say that again, Jack remarked, his smile warm and earnest. The conversation with Jack's friend turned aimless, drifting in and out of focus. Emma caught bits and pieces: fishing trips, the town's recent rodeo, and half-hearted banter about life, but all she could concentrate on was Jack's presence beside her. There was a calmness that settled in her soul, a welcome change from the chaos of just a moment before. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting it in shades of orange and purple, Jack leaned in slightly. You doing okay? His tone was steady, but there was a hint of concern lurking beneath it. Emma blinked, taken aback. Yes, I'm fine. Just. She hesitated, grappling with the urge to share her burdens, but the specter of vulnerability felt overwhelming. Instead, she spoke softly, it's just, sometimes the weight is heavy. Her honesty hung in the air, and Jack shifted, nodding slowly as if he understood more than she said. I have my share of weight too, he confessed, his voice a rough edge of quiet strength. Before she could reply, the sounds of the barbecue festivities faded. A longing grew in Emma, but she stopped herself, afraid of letting him in too quickly. As the crowd began to disperse, she realized how exposed she felt, standing there under the soft glow of lights, surrounded by laughter yet engulfed in doubt. Jack must have sensed her hesitation, because he gently placed a hand on her shoulder, an anchor in the swirling tide of her emotions. Don't worry about the noise. We're not defined by what others say. His eyes held her gaze, blue and deep, filled with a promise she hardly dared to believe. Feeling empowered but still uncertain, Emma took a step back, contemplating her next move. Was she ready to delve deeper into this fragile connection? Could she build something meaningful with Jack, someone she barely knew? Before she could ponder too long, Jack's friend interrupted. Hey, let us gather everybody for a toast. He motioned to the crowd, and in that instant, Emma felt a force of reality settle over her again. The moment that flicker of hope surged, a voice in her head screamed to resist. Just as she turned toward the inviting laughter, Jack's hand lingered at her back, a silent invitation, steadying her heart. Could she allow herself to embrace this chance, or would she retreat into her safe cocoon once again? A decision bolder than any she faced before loomed large, wrapping around her thoughts with urgency. And as the toast began, lifting glasses filled with the promise of new beginnings, Emma felt the walls of her heart tremble dangerously. Would she take a leap of faith and open herself up to the incredible love waiting just beyond her reach? The clinking of glasses echoed throughout the small gathering, mingling with laughter and the sweet scent of barbecue smoke still lingering in the evening air. Emma stood awkwardly at the edge of the crowd, heart racing as she struggled with her swirling thoughts. Jack's presence felt like a warm embrace, yet the uncertainty gnawed at her insides. Here's to new friends and old ones. Jack's friend raised his glass high, his loud voice commanding everyone's attention. Emma could barely focus on the words as she watched Jack, his face illuminated by the soft glow of fairy lights overhead. There was something about him that felt safe, yet daunting. A toast was one thing, but getting closer, actually allowing herself to become vulnerable, was another. Let us hope tonight marks the beginning of something special. Jack's friend cheered, encouraging a round of clinking glasses and delighted shouts. Jack turned to Emma again, and in that moment, their eyes locked, and everything else faded away. The laughter around them softened into a distant hum, the world narrowing down to just the two of them. Are you okay? He asked, and this time his tone was softer, more assured. Emma took a deep breath. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Especially in a crowded room, he said, a flicker of understanding illuminated his gaze. You don't have to if you're not ready. Her heart surged at his kindness, how he respected her space but was still there, rooted beside her like an oak tree. It made her feel seen, and she wanted to share. I've been through a lot. It's hard to let people in. Jack nodded, his expression thoughtful. I get that. Being open isn't always easy. I guess we all carry our own weight. He smiled gently, and for the first time, with the weight of his honesty hanging in the air, Emma felt the knot in her chest loosen. She glanced over at the enthusiastic crowd, her daughters giggling and clanging toy glasses together as they pretended to join the toast. Their joy was infectious, and a bubble of warmth expanded in Emma's heart. Jack watched her, and she sensed he was quietly vowing to stand by her. Her hands trembled ever so slightly as she pushed back her doubt. I want to try, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack's smile widened. Then let us try together. One step at a time, right? The atmosphere shifted, pulling her back into a moment where hope filled the air. She didn't need to know right now what tomorrow would bring. For the first time in a long while, she was ready to embrace the possibility of something beautiful. Just as the crowd erupted in laughter again, Emma felt an unexpected rush of excitement. Maybe this path wouldn't be easy, but there was something comforting about Jack. Something worth exploring, yet, the night wasn't finished with surprises. Just when she began to feel light, a sudden shift in the energy caught her off guard. A figure emerged from the shadows at the edge of the party, eyes locking onto her with an intensity that sent a wave of unease coursing through her. Who was this person, and what did they want? Emma's heart raced again, the cautious excitement suddenly replaced by a disquieting thrill. Could this new presence threaten the fragile bond she was starting to build with Jack? Emma steadied herself, the warmth she had just begun to feel now marred by the dark unknown. What was coming next? She could feel it in her bones. The next step would not just be about her, and it might change everything. The figure stepped closer, breaking through the crowd like a storm cloud looming over a sunny day. Emma squinted to get a better look, the laughter and music fading into the background. Was it a trick of the lights, or did his face hold a familiarity that sent a chill down her spine? Emma, the stranger called out, his voice cutting through the light-hearted atmosphere. There was something in the way he spoke her name that sent alarm bells ringing. Jack sensed her unease. Do you know him? He asked, concern etched on his features. Emma shook her head slowly, gripping her glass tighter as if it might anchor her. I can't place him. The stranger's stare was intense, his eyes sharp and probing. As he moved closer, acknowledgement flickered in her mind. Outside of the tender moments shared with Jack, her past felt like a tapestry of distant memories she had carefully stored away. Surprise! The stranger said, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Thought I'd come by and see how you've been. Her words caught in her throat. What are you doing here? I heard about the barbecue. Thought I'd crash the party, he said with a casual shrug, but the unease lingering in the pit of Emma's stomach hinted that there was more behind his smile. The music in the background picked up, but all Emma could hear was the thumping of her own heart. Jack stepped slightly in front of her, his body shielding her from the tension that had just arrived. If you know Emma, maybe we should take this conversation elsewhere, he said, his voice steady. Emma felt her breathing quicken. Who was this man, and why hadn't she seen him in so long? The memories of nights spent trying to build a future now flooded back, tainted by regrets she had thought were long buried. Relax, Jack. I'm just here to talk, the stranger said, but the edge in his voice suggested he wouldn't be easily brushed aside. Emma, you okay? Jack asked, glancing back at her, his concern deepening. I need to. I can't let this ruin tonight, she replied, struggling to regain her composure. The weight of the stranger's words pressed down on her. With a deep breath, Emma turned back to face the man. If you have something to say, then say it here, she said, her voice firmer than she felt. His gaze darted around as if calculating the best way forward, aware of the attention growing from those nearby. It's about the past, Emma. About why I'm here. It's important. Not here, she insisted, her heart racing. Jack's arm brushed against hers, a reassuring anchor amid the storm brewing in her thoughts. Fine, but you need to know that I've changed, he replied, his voice dropping to a near whisper, but the crowd was now tuned in, everyone watching with bated breath. Emma felt a crack forming in her resolve. Could she trust the words of a ghost from her past? Or would this confrontation drown the flame of hope she had just begun to kindle with Jack? Jack turned to Emma, his eyes steady and reassuring. Whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone. I'm right here. Could she step into the past, or was it time to cut those old ties forever? With the heat of the crowd around her and the promise of something new looming close, Emma stood at a crossroads that might forever alter the course of her life. As the tension wrapped around them like a thick fog, Emma's breath caught in her throat. Could she face what was coming, or would she retreat back into the safety of old wounds? Deep down, she knew she had to make a choice, one that would define who she would become. What secrets were waiting to be uncovered? This was just the beginning. Emma's heart was racing, caught between the man before her and the comforting presence of Jack beside her. The air around them crackled with a tension that felt almost palpable, the buzzing energy of the gathering now replaced by an uneasy silence. She studied the stranger's face, desperate for a hint of his intentions, but all she saw was a complicated mix of emotions that mirrored her own. She started, but the words faltered as she felt the weight of Jack's hand fit securely around her waist. His touch grounded her, whispered promises of safety and support.
Why now? The stranger shifted, and for a brief moment, the mask he wore cracked, revealing a flash of vulnerability.
Because I need you to understand, he paused, searching her face for something only he knew existed. Because the past doesn't just vanish like smoke.
It stays, Emma.
Always. Their eyes locked, and she could see the remnants of their shared history washed over him like a tide he could no longer contain. Memories flickered like shadows before her, late-night talks under starlit skies, laughter shared during reckless adventures. But those moments felt tainted now, shadows darkening the warmth.
Let us not do this here, Jack interrupted, the steely resolve in his voice breaking through the emotional haze. Emma, we can walk away. You don't owe him anything.
No, Emma said, shaking her head. She needed to face this, to untangle the web he'd woven in her past. But I deserve answers.
We all do. It can wait.
Jack's brows knitted together, clearly struggling with the dilemma before them.
Let us just enjoy the night, Emma. We can talk about this later.
Please, the stranger urged, breaking into the conversation.
I promise I'm not here to hurt you. I need you to listen.
His voice softened, a plea escaping him.
Just 5 minutes.
She glanced at Jack, who looked like he was ready to challenge anyone who dared cause her pain. But inside her, emotions wrestled: fear, curiosity, a strange pull toward the unknown.
Fine, Emma relented, her voice firm despite her shaking resolve. 5 minutes. That's all you get.
As they stepped away from the crowd, she could feel the curious stares of onlookers, their whispers drifting through the air like ghostly echoes. Jack walked a respectful distance behind them, allowing her the space to unfold this moment, yet she could feel his protective aura laced with tension around her. Let us go to the side, Emma said, leading him to a quieter part of the yard, where the laughter of her friends faded into muffled sounds.
The flickering lights overhead swayed gently, casting shadows that danced around them.
Emma, he said softly, his expression serious, and she braced herself, expecting the worst.
I came back because there are things you need to know. Things that weren't your fault. What do you mean?
She stepped closer, emboldened by an urge to unearth the truth.
Would this finally clear the clouds that had followed her for too long?
I can't just say it here, it's about why I left. His gaze held her, fierce yet searching, as if he was trying to gauge her readiness. You deserved better than what I gave you.
So much better.
Every nerve in her body buzzed.
Who are you? The man I loved or the one who ran away?
He flinched at the sharpness in her words. Both, he said quietly, almost painfully aware of the chasm between them ready to widen with each passing moment.
But I've changed. I'm trying to do this right. What do you want?
She pressed, feeling fire ignite in her chest.
What could you possibly say that would make any of this okay?
His eyes darkened as the night deepened, the weight of the moment swallowing them both.
To uncover the truth, Emma.
You have to know why but then, a sudden cheer broke out from behind them as someone lit fireworks, illuminating the night sky with bursts of color that echoed the tension crackling around them.
Emma's heart stuttered, torn between the brilliant display and the confession hanging just on the edge.
Emma, Jack's voice interrupted her thoughts, coming closer.
Are you okay? In that fleeting moment.
Everything felt suspended, the truth, the memories, the unresolved feelings. Emma stood at the brink, caught in an emotional cyclone, uncertain whether to fly forward or turn back to Jack, who represented the safety she craved, but was safety enough?
How can I trust you?
She finally asked, the fireworks fading into silence, her voice barely above a whisper. Because I wouldn't have come back if it didn't matter, he replied, the sincerity piercing through the noise. Did she dare to step into the storm, or would she retreat once more into the comfort of the past? As explosives lit the sky, a choice loomed before Emma, one she would have to make before the final boom faded away.
What secrets waited to re-emerge from the shadows of her heart?
Emma's heart raced as the last of the fireworks faded, the remnants of color lingering in the dark, like fragments of her own disjointed memories. Every explosion in the sky seemed to echo the turmoil within her. She looked into the stranger's eyes, still searching for the truth, but the weight of his words hung heavily between them.
I just need you to understand, he said again, his voice low and steady. There are pieces of this story that you don't know.
Pieces that, when put together, might change everything. She could feel Jack's eyes on her, his presence a silent reminder of a different kind of loved one that felt safe but also stifling in the face of this chaotic reunion.
Change what?
She asked, trying to temper the flood of emotions threatening to overwhelm her.
What could you possibly say that would change anything from our past? Because the reason I left wasn't just me being afraid. It was about protecting you.
I didn't realize it then, but I was doing all the wrong things for what I thought was the right reason. His gaze faltered for a moment, as if the honesty was almost too much for him to bear.
It's been eating me alive.
She felt a pulse of anger at his admission.
You think that makes it okay? You walked away, left me to guess and wonder. Do you know how that felt? Memories of late nights spent searching for answers resurfaced, each one a reminder of abandonment.
The reasons were complicated, he started, but she couldn't let him finish.
Complicated? Is that what you call tearing apart someone's heart and running away? It's not complicated, it's cowardice.
Her voice shook, filled with frustration. His expression hardened for a moment, but then softened.
Hearts break for many reasons, Emma.
Sometimes it's not just about the love, but the fear of losing it that does the most damage. The silence after his words felt deafening, filled with unspoken truths. She wanted to scream that fear was no excuse. But then, she realized he might be revealing something she had never considered, an idea that threatened to shake her entire foundation.
Why did you really come back? Emma's voice trembled as uncertainty slipped into the room, mingling with the cool night air. Is this about you? Or is it about me? Because if it's about you finding some sort of redemption, it's about us.
He interrupted fiercely, a raw edge in his voice.
I thought I could bury it all, walk away and make it disappear. But it just kept coming back. I came back to try and set things right. I need you to know no.
She could feel Jack stepping forward, hands clenched into fists as he sensed the tension spike dangerously.
We don't need to hear this.
Emma turned, the conflict within her spiraling.
Would she choose the comfort Jack offered, the stability he had been a part of for so long? Or would she dive into this chaotic past, hoping for some form of clarity?
Please, just a little longer, the stranger pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice.
I need you to know it wasn't just me who suffered. I've spent years regretting the way things ended between us.
As her heart thudded against her chest, memories assaulted her happy beginnings twisted by painful endings.
Could the past hold the key to her future?
Emma, listen to me, Jack said, his voice low and steady.
You're torn, I can see it. But I'm here too. We can figure this out together.
But as Emma stood between two worlds, one filled with safety and certainty, the other shrouded in bittersweet memories, she felt the pressure building, suffocating yet liberating.
5 minutes, she reminded herself aloud, forcing a shaky breath. I owe it to myself. But would revealing the truth bring her peace, or would it shatter everything she had built with Jack?
As the moon hung high, watching them in silence, Emma's heart craved answers, yet was gripped by fear.
The pieces of her life were scattered like fireworks in the sky, but could she find a way to put them back together? Would she dare to light the fuse of her own future or allow the night to fade once more into darkness?
The crackle of uncertainty echoed in her mind. Ready to ignite a choice that could change everything.
Emma took a deep breath, her chest tight with the weight of choices.
The air was electric, the moonlight casting shadows that flickered like her uncertainty. She could see both the stranger's pleading eyes and Jack's unwavering stance. One pulled her back into spirals of the past, while the other represented her present and a small measure of stability.
What do you want from me?
She finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The chilly breeze seemed to catch her words and carry them into the night. I want you to know that it wasn't just about fear, he replied, stepping closer. It was about protecting the only good thing I had, our love. It was too precious and I didn't know how to handle it. She shook her head, frustration bubbling. You call it protecting, I call it running. You left me without a word, without a chance to understand. The heartbreak burned anew, the memories flooding back. I know. And I'm sorry, so sorry. I thought you were better off without me. That I was a burden you didn't need, he said, anguish etched across his face. Jack's presence felt like a wall rising up beside her. Emma, you can't take this in, he interjected, his voice firm but strained. You have a life now. Look at what you've built. I am looking. But it feels like something is missing, she shot back, her emotions boiling. I can't ignore that there's a part of me that's always wondered what if? The stranger's face fell momentarily, but then he pressed on. What if I told you I've spent every single day thinking of ways to come back to you? I never stopped loving you, Emma. It haunted me. Haunted? Jack scoffed, anger radiating from him. So you decide to show up now, after all this time, and expect everything to just magically resolve itself? Think about what you're asking her to do. Emma hesitated, caught between the memories they both shared and the reality of her life now. I'm not asking for anything, she said, though she felt the yearning inside her. It's just I can't deny that I feel things I thought were long buried. Jack stepped closer. But the past is the past, Emma. You need to think of your future. You have a choice to make. Her heart raced at the intensity of his words. A choice? It felt monumental. She could choose the safe love Jack offered, one that embraced her with warmth and familiarity, or she could open herself to the storm brewing inside her at the sight of the stranger. Can we move forward together? She whispered to him, her voice trembling at the enormity of the thought. I hope so, he replied softly, a note of vulnerability breaking through in his tone. But it all starts with honesty. Can we talk about the past? Jack's hands were tense, his brow furrowed with concern. Emma, be careful. You don't have to do this. You owe him nothing. Maybe I owe it to myself, she replied, feeling the tension of the moment wrap around her like a vine, suffocating yet oddly liberating. Torn and uncertain, reality crashed over her like a wave, drowning out everything else. She could feel the cool breeze on her skin, the weight of the moon above her, and the urgency of the moment pulling her in two different directions. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, there was a sudden loud crack of firework bursting forth in the distance. The brilliant colors illuminated the night, momentarily blinding her, and she was reminded of moments she thought she had left behind. Maybe this choice can light the way, she mused aloud, but as the last spark faded, she realized the question still lingered heavily in the air: was she brave enough to let herself be drawn into the chaos again? As silence returned, a realization crept in: sometimes, the greatest freedom lies in embracing the very turmoil we fear the most. Would she take that leap, or would she let this moment dissolve like the remnants of the fireworks above? The answer was hovering just out of reach, a truth waiting to be uncovered. Emma's heart pounded as the last firework sputtered out, leaving only smoke and silence behind. The vibrant colors faded into the night, just like the hope she once had for a simple life. A quiet anxiety crept in, gnawing at her as she shifted her focus from Jack to the stranger. What does honesty look like? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Honestly? He replied, his eyes burning with intensity. It looks like me admitting that I was terrified. Terrified of you seeing me fail, seeing me fall apart. I chose to run, but it was wrong. I realize that now. Jack scoffed again, stepping defensively in front of her. And what do you expect, Emma? A fairy tale ending? Life doesn't just hand you second chances wrapped in bows. A flash of anger ignited in Emma, surprising herself. It's not a fairy tale, Jack. But what if it's my chance to determine my own story? What if this is my moment to find out who I really am? Jack's expression softened, but pain danced in his eyes. He reached for her hand, but she instinctively pulled away, grounding herself in the decision she now faced. It's not about choosing one of you over the other, she said, her voice a flicker of determination.
It's about understanding everything: my past, my present, and who I want to be in the future.
Silence fell between them, heavy and filled with unspoken words. Maybe it could work, the stranger whispered, taking a hesitant step toward her again.
Maybe we can face our demons together.
I want to help you explore this side of yourself you didn't know existed, the one that yearns for something more.
Emma's heart raced at the thought.
The possibility of venturing out of her comfort zone filled her with both dread and excitement.
But what if my choice means losing everything I'd built with Jack?
Jack looked hurt, his lips tightening as he processed her words.
Everything you've built is worth fighting for, Emma. I care about you. Please don't throw it away for someone who left you once. But he's back now.
She shouted, the frustration spilling over like a dam breaking.
I can't just ignore this pull between us. It's real, Jack. I feel it.
The look in Jack's eyes shifted, revealing vulnerability amid his frustration.
You deserve to chase whatever this is.
But remember, choices carry their own weight.
Are you ready for that?
As Emma pondered his words, a sudden chirping of crickets surrounded them like a backdrop to the tempest brewing inside. She had always loved the sound of nature, but tonight it felt ominous, a reminder of the uncertainty that hung over her like a storm cloud.
What if I collapse under the pressure?
She muttered, almost to herself. Then we'll help you stand, the stranger reassured her softly, taking her gaze captive.
But you need to let us. You don't have to do this alone.
For the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Maybe standing in the chaos wouldn't mean her downfall. Maybe it could be a step toward the freedom she craved. Just then, the distant sound of laughter erupted from the festival, thumping back into existence, a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere surrounding them. It was playful and carefree, drawing Emma's gaze toward the lights illuminating the night.
Maybe we should go back.
Maybe I need to think more, she said, the weight of indecision still clinging to her. But even as she spoke, her heart screamed for another chance to explore the unknown, the allure of a life uncharted, where she might finally discover her true self. Did she dare venture into that twilight, knowing it could change everything? The laughter grew louder, and a choice lingered in the air between them, shimmering like the last remnants of fireworks.
Would she let the adventure begin, or retreat into the safety that Jack offered? Emma's breath caught in her throat as the laughter melted into the night, echoing her heartbeat.
Each note of joy pulled her in a different direction, as if the universe was whispering to her, daring her to leap into the unknown. The vibrant glow from the festival seemed to beckon, inviting her for a dance she had long been too afraid to join. I need to know more about myself, she muttered, low enough for only the stranger to hear. It felt like a confession, raw and revealing. With that realization, she turned her gaze back to the stranger, curious and hopeful.
What do you see when you look at me?
He smiled gently, warmth spreading through the tension that had bordered on unbearable. I see a spark that's been buried. A spirit that's waiting to soar. Jack's posture stiffened, and as he stepped closer, Emma sensed an impending collision, not of bodies, but of hearts intertwined by history and passion.
Emma, wait.
Just don't dive headfirst into something you can't control.
Explore yourself, sure, but don't lose sight of where you've been. But isn't that the point?
She shot back, her voice wavering between anger and urgency. How can I truly know where I'm going if I won't at least look back at all I've faced? The tension between the three of them transformed the cool night air into a battlefield of emotion. Emma felt every glance, every breath, every unvoiced concern.
It was daunting, yet exhilarating.
Then let yourself breathe, Emma, the stranger said softly, his voice slicing through the tension like a soothing balm.
Let yourself be uncomfortable. I promise you won't drown.
I'll be right there beside you. She looked at him. The sincerity in his eyes made her pulse race. Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the festival. A group of friends embraced, their laughter intertwining with the music wafting from the nearby tent. That sound stirred something deep within her, a longing so profound it almost felt like a call.
Why is it so hard? Emma whispered, almost as if to herself. Why can't I just be free?
It's always hard before it gets easier, Jack replied, his voice straining but filled with a protective undertone. And freedom comes with its own price, often more than you realize. Emma's heart weighed heavy with those words, yet a glimmer of bravery flickered in her chest.
Did staying the course mean sacrificing her yearning?
Did stepping away for the sake of self-discovery imply abandoning the love she built with Jack? The reality came crashing down on her, and a decision loomed large. She could run back to the embraced arms of safety or plunge into uncharted waters. Each option pulsed with a different kind of dread and excitement. "I need a moment," she said, her voice steadier now as if she had journeyed through the chaos to ground herself. Stepping away from them wouldn't mean losing them, it would mean gaining clarity. As she walked toward the festival lights, the laughter and jubilant shouts grew nearer, each sound warm like a blanket. Her pulse began to echo those distant beats of happiness. For just a moment, the looming decision faded behind the wave of colors and voices that colored her heart with possibility. Emma stopped, glancing back at Jack and the stranger, her heart dancing between the two. "Will you both wait for me?" she called out, feeling the weight of vulnerability shift in her chest. They nodded in unison, but the silent promise between them carried a deeper meaning, an unspoken agreement that no matter what she chose, each of them would face the consequences together. As she turned back to the festival, excitement bubbled within her. In this moment, she felt free. Could she discover herself within those lights? Would that journey unveil more than just her identity, but also the true depth of love? With every step, she found herself intertwining with the rhythm of the night, ready to embrace whatever came next. Just as she entered the festival's embrace, a voice broke through the revelry, "Emma." It was a voice she didn't expect, sending a ripple of tension through her. Who could it be? Would her past barge in at the worst moment? Emma turned, her heart racing like a wild horse. The laughter and music dimmed into the background as she searched the crowd, scanning the faces illuminated by the twinkling lights. There it was again, Emma. A familiar voice, yet it felt like an echo of a forgotten memory rushing through. She felt a swirl of emotions: hope, fear, nostalgia. Then, she saw him, David, the father of her children. His face was a blend of confusion and determination, a mirror to the chaos that had once consumed their lives. "What are you doing here?" she managed to say, her voice steadying as uncertainty dripped down her spine. "I heard about the barbecue. I wanted to see you," he replied, his expression shifting from hesitance to remorse. Emma's thoughts tangled. He had vanished without a trace, leaving her to pick up the pieces, and now he stood before her, a specter from a past she had fought so hard to leave behind. "Why now, David?" she pressed, her heart laid raw. "After everything?" David took a breath, visibly struggling. "I know I hurt you. I'm sorry for leaving you, for abandoning our daughters. I thought it was best for everyone." Tears prickled at the corners of Emma's eyes. She had spent so long building a life in the absence of his, piecing together hope amid heartache. "Best for who?" she challenged softly, yet firmly. "You think disappearing was best for us?" Before David could respond, Jack stepped forward. His protective presence felt like a thundercloud hovering over the confrontation. "This isn't the place for this," he stated firmly, his voice a steady anchor. "Emma, you don't have to engage with him if you don't want to." "No," Emma interjected, her voice flowing with a newfound strength. "I have to face this. I owe it to myself and the girls." Jack's eyes softened, something unspoken passing between them. He stood beside her, an unwavering support. Emma could feel the weight of that silent bond, that raw connection, yet the shadows of her past loomed heavily before her. "Emma," David began again, his voice gaining strength. "I've changed. I want to be a part of their lives, yours too. I know I can't undo the past, but I want to make it right." "Make it right?" Emma asked incredulously. "After abandoning us?" "I made a terrible mistake, but I can help now. I can be a father to them. I had to find myself first." It was as if a dam had burst within her, the feelings of betrayal, anger, and the tiniest glimmer of hope competing for dominance. She felt Jack's solid presence beside her. "That's a tall order, David," she said, steadying her breath. "You're asking for forgiveness without doing the work." The flickering lights above seemed to sway, fueling her courage.
You think saying I'm sorry will fix everything? You've missed birthdays, milestones, tears. You've missed everything.
I know, he whispered, the regret shrouding his features.
But I've thought about every moment. I want to show you I can be better. I want to know my girls. Emma felt torn. Could she allow him back into their lives?
But what about Jack, the man who stood beside her through the darkest nights, nurturing her and their kids as if they were his own? The past is heavy, David, Jack interjected, stepping closer, his voice calm and steady.
You have to understand, being a father is more than just showing up. It's about presence, love, and sacrifice. As those words lingered, Emma realized the gravity of the moment, gripping it tightly.
David, she said, her voice softening, it's not just about you wanting in.
It's about how we move forward as a family.
David nodded slowly, his eyes pleading.
Tell me what I can do. I'm here to listen.
Surprisingly, Emma felt a flutter of compassion shift inside her, mingling with the fear.
Could there be a path? Could her heart, once shattered, have room for another chance?
Looking at Jack, she saw unwavering resolve mixed with warmth.
They had built something good together.
A family filled with joy, even amid trials. She wasn't obliged to forge a relationship with David, but perhaps there was a way to find closure.
A last piece to her journey. All right, Emma said.
Firmly, meeting David's gaze.
We can talk. But it needs to be honest.
There are wounds that need healing.
For me, for the girls. It has to be about them first.
A glimmer of hope flickered in David's eyes, a past filled with pain becoming a future lined with possibility. Jack stood by her, hand resting on her back, warmth radiating the reassurance she craved. As the festival around them regained its joyful soundness, filled with laughter and dancing, Emma felt a weight lift, uncertainty giving way to hope. Yes, she would explore this moment. A chance to mend the fragments of their lives. With that choice made, she knew her heart was still open to love, deep, true love. It would take time, effort, and unwavering trust, but she was ready to rebuild.
Together. Let us take this step, she whispered, glancing back at Jack.
He nodded, strong and steadfast, a partner burning brightly beside her in the warmth of the softening night. As they moved forward, leaving behind the ghosts of the past to face a new dawn, Emma felt empowered as she walked into her future, hand in hand with those who truly mattered. A choice made, a story rewritten, an incredible love waiting to bloom. But before you run off into your own journey, remember you need to subscribe now.
This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about Emma's incredible journey.
And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this inspiring transformation.
Let us spread the love.